What if you could build an automation that takes existing product images and then modifies them? Think of e-commerce businesses, startups, dropshipping, stores that have a very limited budget, but they want to test something very, very quickly, okay? And what if this same automation could then create new images based around a product idea? Well, what I'm about to show you is how you can take both of these prompts, put it into an AI agent, and then basically it spits out either images created using AI or it'll actually modify existing images, okay? So this is a great solution, and stick around, I'll show you exactly how you're gonna build this. So this image creator has a couple of requirements. The first thing you want to do is you want to verify your organization inside of OpenAI. Without doing this, you're not going to be able to use the new image API, okay? The second thing, and this is a suggestion, it's optional, but you could sell this solution to meta ad agencies, okay? As somebody who ran ads, I had an agency running Facebook, Google, Instagram, TikTok ads, right? I know the amount of time it takes for something like this now. In the old days, they would just go to an agency or some type of organization that will do the photo shoots for them, and you'd have to have the budgets to actually film this all in front of the models. But now you can do a lot of this with AI, right? Especially if you're a new kind of launch, if you're a startup, or if you've got some kind of product idea that you want to test, you can actually do this pretty quickly, right? Because you can not only edit existing images, so if they have existing images, they can modify them, or then create new images using AI, okay? So these are the two requirements. Now let's head over and let me show you how the automation works. This image creator has two parts, okay? So the first part of the flow is it an image that needs modifying? If it does, then it goes to this part of the route. If it's just text, i.e. you want to create a new image, then it'll go to this part of the route, okay? And then both of them get fed into this AI agent, which is going to call another sub workflow, okay? And I'll show you exactly how to build that. But let me head over to the subflow. So this is part 1 of 2. This is part 2 of 2. So again, this will then receive all the inputs from the parent workflow. It will then use a switch node to identify whether it's an edit task or prompt, or whether it's create prompt, okay? If it's to edit an existing image, it will go to this part of the route, and then it will download the image. It will create an image by calling the OpenAI's image API. It will then convert it into a B64 file from a string to a file, and I'll show you why it needs to do that. And then it'll basically upload the image into Google Drive, okay? The second part, if it's of the root here, the switch is, if it's a create prompt, then we'll create a new image, right? We'll just create a new AI image. We'll then convert the new B64, and then we'll upload the new image, okay? So let me just go ahead, run this. I'll run it for both scenarios, and then you'll see what the outputs look like. So I ran this automation, and I found an existing image of a pug, so I'll show you. And the prompt was add a snapback to this pug's head. So it's an actual photography. We're going to modify the photography using AI, okay? So if I just hide the chat, you'll see that it went to this part of the flow because it is an image, right? So it's worked, it's uploaded image because we need that. Then it's gone through to the image processing agent. It's called the subflow, which is edit image. If I go into the subflow, I'm going to use the execution so I can show you exactly what it looks like. It's then come through, the inputs have come through from the parent workflow. It's now has a router here, or a switch, which will identify if it's edit or create. This time it was edit, right? Because we have an existing image that we want to edit. Now, a scenario for you in a working real life example would be, a client, an e-commerce brand has an existing image. Like it could be a product image, it could be somebody, a model holding it, right? And you want to modify that image. This is just one example of where you would use this. Then you want this is downloaded the image. It's created the image using the API from OpenAI. Then it's converted to a B64, from a B64 string to a file, and I'll show you why we need to do that. And then it's uploaded the image into Google Drive. Okay, so if I go into my Google Drive, it's this image here, edited image, and let me just open it up, and yeah, this is it. So this is a real dog, and this is an AI generated snapback. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty cool. So now let's try the other one where we want to create a new image from scratch. This time I put in a prompt to actually create an image with a pug wearing a snapback, which is this prompt here. So let me just show you what happened. This time it went to the text part of the flow. It's gone through the same AI agent, as you can see, and it's triggered the sub workflow. Let's head over to the sub workflow. So here you can see this time it's now gone to the create section of the switch, right? Because we wanted to create a new image, and then it's triggered the API. It's converted it from a B64 file to from a string to a file, and then it's uploaded the new image. So let's have a look at the new image inside of Google Drive. Just going to refresh this. Should be called created image if it's worked, which it has. Let's click on this and you'll see, yeah, it's not bad, right? This is an AI image of a pug wearing a snapback. You could probably do a better job with the prompt. give a bit more detail, but I think you get the idea. So now let's move on and build this system. I just wanted to point out that this automation works really well with my previous video, which is an automation where I show you how to use AI to scrape Meta Ads Library. Okay, and this is a great resource because the Meta Ads Library is completely free. It's completely public. We can actually scrape it and get ideas for competition, for what other people are running for their e-commerce businesses, what the agencies are doing, right? So it's a great place to start if you're not sure what type of images might be working. Okay, so in this part of the flow, this is part 1 of 2. The trigger is going to be a chat trigger, so just do chat trigger for this. Then the second node is going to be a switch node. Okay, so if I go inside of here, I'll show you what that does. So this is just taking the binary data, right? And this is a function inside of here. And all I'm asking it is to do is basically just to check to see if the object exists. Okay, if the object exists, then it will go to, or I'll create a new output called image, and it'll just go to that part of the flow. If the binary data object does not exist, then it basically means that there's no image, right? There's no other accompanying image with the prompt, which means that we just pass it out and go to the text part of the flow. Okay, when you test it, you'll see this come out here. So for the last example, I did text, which is why it's come through the text flow. But if it was an image, you'd see on this side, okay? Obviously, save it and test it. Then we'll do the top part first, which is upload image. So this is just a Google Drive node, okay? And you want to select, where is it? Upload file. Okay, so if I go inside of here, you'll see that it's just connected to my Google Drive account, and you can connect to any drive. The input data is going to be data 0. That's what the object is when you basically prompt it with an image, and you'll see that, right? There's no input because if I go back here, it's gone to this part of the flow, right? If I was going to run it and show you from an image, then you'd see it's actually called data 0, okay? Then obviously it's an image. We're gonna select the parent drive, which is my drive, and I've just created a root folder for this, which is this folder here, okay? It's just at the top level. You can obviously give it a folder name and obviously save it, test it, right? Then the next node, and this is the image processing node. This is just an AI agent. You've used this many times if you're familiar with my channel. So go inside of here, grab AI agent, right? You want to connect it up to a chat model. So I'm always going to use OpenAI ChatGPT, but you can use any other model, including DeepSeek. If you want to use some free models, connect it up to OpenRouter. Do a search for Meta Llama free. There's some free models in there you can use if you don't want to spend any tokens on this, okay? Then for the memory, we're just going to use simple memory. If I go inside of here, you'll see that there's a slight modification, right? So we're not using the chat trigger. We're using define below. And for this, we're just getting the session ID from the previous node. Okay, so it just goes to the chat ID and we're just getting the session ID from there. Okay, and the context window, I've kept it the same. If you run it, you'll see this as the output, okay? And then for the sub workflow, it's just this one here. Okay, so if I just go into tools, and you can just call the n8n workflow tool, okay? And for this, let me just go inside of here. I'll show you what I've called it. So I just called it edit image, right? And then for the description, it's just use this tool to generate or modify an image with AI. To function correctly, it needs 2 things, an image ID and a clear set of instructions or descriptive prompt. Okay, they're the only 2 things I'm passing from the subflow, and I'll show you how to set that up when I go to the subflow section, okay? Then for the database, I'm calling the second workflow, which is part 2 of 2. And then for the image ID, I've defined it. I've let the model define it. I'll show you what that is in a sec. And the description is just the image ID, and then we're basically passing the prompt as well. We're automatically defining it from the model, so this will just take it from the prompt, from the chat, right? It knows what the image ID is, knows what the prompt is once it's created and downloaded into the Google Drive, okay? And for this, the description is the user prompt on how to edit or create the image. Yep, so far so good, okay? So that's the first part done. Let me show you how we pass those variables from the second workflow. Let's create the first part of the flow here. So we're gonna do the edit part. And the first node is gonna be when executed by another workflow, okay? So if I click inside of here, I'll show you what the way this is working. So basically there's no image ID in here because this is it's triggering a text route, okay? But you want 2 workflow import schemas, okay? The first one is going to be an image ID, and that's a string, and the second one is going to be a prompt, okay? That's what's passed from the first workflow here into the edit image subflow, okay? There are 2 variables that we need. And then the next one is going to be a switch. So if I just go inside of here, this is a switch. There's only a couple of rules, right? The first one is an image ID is not empty. right? If it's not empty, then we know it's going to be edit. Okay, we're editing an existing image, okay? And that's just grabbing this variable here, dragging and dropping, okay? And I'm left it in execution mode so that you can see it. You can see the outputs. And then the second one is going to be the same again, but is empty this time, which means that we're going to create. So if there's no image, then we want to create a new image using the AI capabilities, okay? And so there's two flows here. Now we're going to go to the edit part. So the first thing you want to do is you want to download an image. If I go inside of here, it's just an image download. It's just a download a file node. And then all we're going to download is by ID is the image ID from the previous node, okay? That's all it is. Then the next node is going to be a HTTP request. So you've used that many times. It's just a standard function that we call. If I go inside of here, you'll see a couple of things. So the method is post, right? And the URL, this is the endpoint. This is /edits. If you want more information about the API, just head over to the API reference here and you can see it here. Okay, so you've got create image, which is generations. And you've got, it'll tell you a bit more information about what they do, how to use it, and obviously some of the stuff that we need. Okay, so there's a lot of good information on here. And then the authentication is going to be a predefined credential type. It's going to be the OpenAI credential that you should have created. If you haven't, then head over to the dashboard here, go to API keys, right? Create a new API key, and then copy this SQ number, and you're good to go, okay, with an OpenAI account, okay? Then we've got no headers here. We just want to send the body. Now the body type is going to be form data. The parameter type is form data, and this time we're going to send the prompt. Okay, so we're going to send the prompt that we've created. And then the value is the JSON prompt from the previous node, okay? Then the second parameter type we're going to need is the n8n binary file, which is this value here. It's just an image with like these square brackets, okay? This is just the information that we need to pass back to OpenAI for it to work through the API. This is what they've told us, and it's all on the API reference, okay? Then the third parameter is form data. This time we need to select the model, right? And the value for this, I'm using GPT-image-1, right? You could use DALL-E 2 or DALL-E 3, but the image API gives us a bit more flexibility, okay? And there's a few more things you could do on there. There's moderation, there's background, there's all this other stuff as well, quality, you can, or response format as well, right? You can put all that into the parameters. I've just kept it simple and just left it at GPT-image1, okay? So go and test that, and then what's going to happen is that the output file is going to be a data dash with this square bracket 0, which is like an array, close bracket, dot b64-json, right? Now all that means is just it's a base 64 file. I'll show you what that looks like in this one here. So if I go to this file here, you'll see that this is what it looks like, right? It comes out in like a string, right? Now obviously we can't do much with this. So what we need to do is we need to create we need this file here, which is basically convert, okay? And it converts the base 64 string into a file, right? Because then we can upload the file as an image. Okay, so this is just a convert, and then the node is called convert to file. I've just called it convert b64 because that's what's doing. The operation we're going to do for this is move base 64 to string to file, okay? This is what the file, the input is called, and then the output file in the field is data, okay? And then once that's converted, then you can upload it, okay? So this is just a typical upload, right? So now we're just going to upload it into Google Drive, and I've just called it edited image. So if I go back to my Google Drive, it was this one here, okay? And I've called it edited image because then it just helps me to identify which one's which, right? So this is edited image, okay? And I've just left it at the my drive, and I've just left it at the root. Again, you can just create subfolders for this, entirely how you want to do this, okay? And it's up to you. Now the second part of the flow is going to be this part here. So now we're going to create a new image. So if I go inside of here, this is using a different endpoint. It's using the generations endpoint. It's a post method. This is the URL as per the API documentation, right? So we need to send some headers. Okay, so the content type is application JSON. We're going to use the fields below. Okay, the authorization is going to be bearer space your key. Okay, so if you go back into OpenAI, you just need bearer, the word bearer, and then space, and you just paste this in here, okay? That's your API key. Then for the send body, we just need JSON as a content type, and we're going to specify some JSON. And again, this is because we're triggering the create image API through the n8n workflow. We need to send it some JSON, okay? We need to send some data back to it. So what this is saying is that the model is GPT-image1, and then the prompt is just going to be the prompt that we get from here, okay? So for this, the prompt was create an image of a pug wearing a snapback, focusing on a cute and playful expression. That's just the AI agent kind of expanding on what I put inside of the chat, right? I've only got one, the n equals 1, which means that I only want one image. You could put more in there if you wanted to. And then for the size, I've just done 1024 by 1024, okay? It's a very simple image, like a portrait image, okay? Again, you can play around with the dimensions here. And again, if you want more information on the dimensions and quality and all that, just go over to the API documentation, okay? Then, yeah, make sure you test that and save it. And so if I just go back into here, you're gonna see the output, right? And this is why we need the convert to file, because we can't do much with this. So you see it more inside of this one. So now we've got another convert to file. Okay, I've just called it convert new B64 because you can't have duplicate node names. Okay, so I've already got convert B64, so I'm gonna put new in there again. So it's taken this file here and it's converted it into an image, into a file, right? And if I click on this, you'll see this is what's been uploaded onto my Google Drive, okay? And then the last one is just going to be another upload file. You can actually just duplicate these two if you wanted to. It's kind of the same, right? So if I go inside of here, now it's got the data, right? Which is the input, which is always going to be the input. That's always going to be preloaded. We're uploading it onto Google Drive. And for this, I've called it created image, okay? And again, it's at the root. So if I go back to my Google Drive, it's this file here. So if I click inside of here, you can see it's the same image, right? And before I wrap up this video, there is one thing that you need to do. Okay, so if you go over to the OpenAI, and if I just go back, I think I had it open. Yeah, here. So go to the settings, go to general. You're going to need to verify your organization if you want to use this image API, okay? It's a very simple process. I put in some ID, but except like your national ID, passports, driver license, all that kind of stuff. You just scan the front and the back, you get on your phone, and it's a quick 5, maybe 10 minutes max if you're having some problems, taking a picture of it, holding it still, that kind of stuff. But literally, it took me a couple of minutes to do, okay? And once it's done, just give it about 15, 20 minutes for the changes to take effect. Don't try running it straight away because it's not gonna work, okay? So heading back to our Excalidraw, I've showed you how to verify your organization in OpenAI. And yeah, this is a potential option. You could sell the solution to meta ad agencies, or you could just sell it as a service, right? Targeting meta ad agencies. There's lots of use cases for this, so go out there and give it a bash. On the next video, I'll create something similar to this, but it's gonna be a bit more advanced, right? It's gonna actually create the ad creatives, proper ad creative with text and all that kind of stuff, right? So if you like this video, just give me a thumbs up and please consider following the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. So take care.